Hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show VCQ Live. Dan here.
Mick here, hello, welcome. It's Monday, it's 5 o'clock. Something else.
Hope you're all doing awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Indeed. Hopefully you can hear us okay. And all is well. Well, clearly all is not well, but all is tolerable. Isn't it? What's this ad for then? Huel. Nice.
Looks good, that stuff.
Yeah.
Looks like crusty brand imitation gruel.
Nice. It's food for people who don't realise you can get food from supermarkets. You have to buy a supplement instead. Anyway, for those of you joining us anew, welcome. This is a comments and questions session that we do every Monday at 5 p.m. British time. And we'll take questions on anything. We try to talk about last Friday's video, but it doesn't always happen.
Never happens.
Yeah. So, yes. So, roll call. Hobo Roadie, greetings from Talent, Oregon.
Oh, wow.
Greetings back from No Talent Froome. You set them up, I'll knock them down.
Oh, very
that
good.
was pretty good.
That was really good.
Sammy Watt says, it sounds great. Thank you, Sammy. Hello
Fantastic.
from Athens, Alabama, says Jerry Threet. Sounds and looks great. Greetings from Canton, Georgia.
It's the new lights, Mick.
Yeah, we have got some new lights, actually. Isn't that a song, says C Drive 3000?
Sure is. That
Yeah.
was Dear God by XTC.
Was it?
Yep.
Nate says, thoughts on a stereo setup? We prefer wet dry, but stereo's cool.
Stereo's cool. Listen
Greetings.
to Andy Timmons' stereo rig and it's like, oh, that works.
Greetings from Pittsburgh, says Terry Boring. I bet you're not. Johnny Gin, hello from rainy Berkshire, or indeed Berkshire. Cyril Zupan, hello Cyril. He says, I discovered you two via the treble booster video. It was a blast. Can you tell me, can I use the same pedal board for the guitar and bass? Could the pedals get hurt? Thanks from Slovenia.
No, pedals can't get hurt by playing bass to them.
It's all good, Cyril. I went to Slovenia once. I had the most wonderful time there.
Really?
Yeah. Hello from Vancouver, says Calm the Monster. I made it, says Tony Walker.
Yay!
Tony London.
Well, yay!
Steve Walker, hi from Mansfield. John Channing, hello Mick, Dan and everyone from a rainy London town.
London
Good
town.
morning from Los Angeles, says Wes Chilton. Hello, Wes.
Alan Wilson, hello from Meathil.
Nice.
Isaac Howe says greetings from Bristol.
Is a leg end a hipster, says John Prudhomme.
The leg ends connected to the hipster.
Steve, afternoon guys. I'm looking to build a larger pine cab for my Blues Junior. I want to go 212 or 10 inch. Which ones would you go and why?
Ooh. Interesting. I don't know. I'd be looking like 210 or a single 12.
Two 10s or 212s.
210s or 212s. Oh boy.
I'd go 12s because it's what I've been playing ever since I was 15 years old. But 10s can be fan-flipping-tastic.
They really can.
Yeah.
They really can.
Yeah. Okay, thank you to BV.
Thank you, BV.
For moderating, as
Yes.
always. We are indebted and massively grateful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Greetings from New York City, says James Roy.
Back in New York City.
The muddy banks of the Medway Delta, says Martin Cable.
Very good. Raf Effect says it's wet, dry, wet in Zurich, Switzerland. That's like Melbourne.
Todd Roy, good afternoon from sunny Nova Scotia.
Lovely. Alice Wilson, greetings from Philly.
Actually, Andy High Tides is also from Nova Scotia. James Neuenhaus is from Birmingham.
Bud McNelson, greetings from Egina, Saskatchewan, Canada.
Saskatoon, they say that, don't they?
Saskatoon?
Is that how you say that?
I
Don't know. Hello from Manila, says Ryu Quimbao.
When I was living in
Manila.
Singapore, I had a couple of friends from Manila. Very cool people. Amazing musicians.
There was a
actually.
thriller there once.
There was a thriller. in
Hello
Manila.
from Tokyo, says Yu Sato. Hello.
Look at the size of that gorilla. It's all killer, no filler.
Greetings from the pool, says Mark Proctor.
Nice.
Southern Denmark. Oh, we're all in. We're all in.
Wow.
Great to have you all in the game.
Gareth Ware says, greetings from Old York. John Smith visited last week.
Old York, as opposed to
Old
New York.
Old York.
Yes.
John Smith, what a marvellous, wonderful talent he is.
What a tremendous talent.
Speaking of wonderful talent, Josh Smith is going to be over here
Is he?
in, I think, November time.
It's all starting to happen again, Dan.
It is. Getting some gigs back.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Then let us get on with Los Super Chat.
Indeed.
First one tonight is from Chad Blake. Hello, Chad.
Hello, Chad.
And Chad says, you guys are the best.
Ah, thanks, Chad.
As we say every week, Tom Bookerback's the best, but thanks anyway. Dan, get that Laurel Canyon you keep talking about. I picked up an Analog Man NKT 275 Sunface, thanks to you guys. Did you see the new Benson Boost?
No.
Benson Boost, eh?
Benson Boost, eh?
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool. Okay, lovely.
Germanium boost pedal.
Very nice.
Well, that's going to be good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything they make is good.
Looks very preampy like.
Anything I say is good.
Come on, Mark. It's not that hard.
Sorry, every week. It's the same gags every week. I guess it worked for Morecambe and Wise.
It did.
Maybe it can work
Good
for
night
us.
for me.
Bring me buffers. We just today, this morning before coming onto the air to do this, we've done a show on buffers. Buffers once and for all.
Buffers. The buffers end of.
Yeah, we're not sure it will be that, but
Of course it won't be.
it was very interesting nonetheless.
It was really interesting.
Trying to answer the question, what is a buffer? Do I need one? And where do I put it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I need one was interesting.
Yeah.
That'll be up soon.
Fender Jeff. Hello, Fender Jeff. You guys have taught me how to really listen to guitar tones with a discerning ear. It's made a world of difference to my tone and playing for the better. I couldn't be more grateful. Thank you.
That's amazing.
Jeff,
That's the best we could hope for.
it's almost better than the best we can hope for.
Indeed.
The best we can hope for is people turn up and tune in.
That's wonderful.
Nice one,
Thank
Jeff.
you, mate. We appreciate that. We really do. Thank you.
It's really interesting, the whole discerning ear thing, that sort of, I don't know whether you want to call it active listening, or it's something I was really bad at still. But doing this has had the same effect on me, Jeff, for what it's worth.
Right.
I can now hear things that I definitely couldn't hear before we did this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, I've learnt so much
Yeah.
from doing this. It's, crazy.
Top of the Bunday, says Albus Band.
Hey, buddy.
If money were no object, what one vintage guitar amp and effect would you buy? All my love, as per usual, and I loved the Hot Rod Deluxe video.
Oh, thank you, mate. First mention of last week's video.
Awesome. So you've got one, you can buy any vintage guitar amp and effect. What would it be?
Probably an original Flying V.
Nice.
What's the massive Neutron phaser?
That one.
The massive tabletop biphase.
Yeah.
And what's the 200 watt Marshall?
A major.
A Marshall Major. An original Marshall Major.
That
would be amazing. That rig.
I think I'd go for 59 335.
Wow.
Maybe. Dumble Overdrive Special from the 80s period. And a vintage effect, not so much. Chase Bliss CXM 78 reverb.
Cool. Nice. Nice.
Yeah, and Meris, should I say.
Very good.
They would be my choices. Thanks
Yep.
always for the great questions, Aaron.
Yep. Quick shout out to Daniel Herbert for his daughter who turned 10 yesterday and requested and received her first pedal, a Lucky Cat delay. So
Awesome.
a lifetime of pedal love begins. That's awesome. Thanks, B, for sending that in.
Awesome.
That's great.
And happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
What a nice pedal for your first pedal.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Start as you mean to go on.
Used to be called the Pink Panther, and they changed it to the Lucky Cat
Yep.
JHS. Very nice delay. Actually, I've lent mine, ours, to Ainsley Lister,
Oh, yeah. Cool.
who's currently using it as his main delay.
Wow.
Steve Mass.
Steve.
Hello, Steve. I received my Everything at 2 o'clock t-shirt. I love it. Sorry about the latency question last week. About recording in Logic with plugins. I could see the sadness on your faces.
No, that's good. No, thank you for tuning in. That's great.
Yeah,
Ask anything you like.
We're sorry. We seemed sad at the question. I mean,
Very relevant.
very relevant and something that lots of people struggle with all the time.
Yep.
In fact, not least you, Daniel.
Not least me. Man.
We hope you got it sorted. Victor Gustafsson. Hello, Victor. He says, "Hi, gents. Here's an unnecessary desert island question.
They're the best.
If you could only do one of the following, what would you choose? Slide up and down, hammer on or off, or bend up and down?
Bend up and down.
Don't forget about the rhythm playing."
Ah, boy. Oh, I don't know now. Bend up and down, because you can always go. You can, with the bend up and down, you can always start like. But I'd miss that.
God, that's really hard.
It is, isn't it?
I'd go slide. I'd say slide. I don't know quite where you are with
But that means no vibrato.
with chords. That would be a good thing for me.
I love your vibrato.
David Rustad. Hey, David, how are you?
Hey, David.
He says, end of the show, you both go to Tone King. Oh, yeah. At the end of the show, you both went Tone King. As a Cali Tweed owner, I'm not non-adversarially curious for more on what the difference was. 4.6v6 is it too much? Or is it just familiarity and the deluxey thing on the King? All right, so he's got a Cali Tweed owner, and he's like, why didn't you choose my amp? Why did you choose the Tone King? It's exactly that Fender familiarity for me.
Yeah, I think
Because
so.
I grew up on blackfacey sounds. Sorry, we don't use the term blackface anymore. We say black panel,
Indeed.
which has been
Lots of appreciation for that as well.
yeah,
from the show, which is
interesting
nice.
discussion this
Yeah.
week about that. Some people getting a bit annoyed that we've modified our language about it. It's a very interesting discussion. I don't know if we want to get into it here.
Libido says Dan's never giving up his boomer bends.
Boomer bends.
Boomer bends. Sorry,
That's what
there we
Dave Gregory calls Ernie's, isn't it?
go. Ernie.
Um,
Yeah, so yeah, it was interesting. I think, and I'm right there with Mick. There's something about the way that the Tone King is voiced. That the lead channel, there's not really a lead channel, is it? It's a different gain stages thrown in.
separate channel.
Separate channel, is it?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
yeah, that's a really good question
Yeah.
because it did sound very similar to the
Yeah.
other channel cranked.
Yeah. It was magic. And
Yeah.
one of those things, like for me, the tell is I can be playing something, listening to it and going, yeah, that's nice. But as soon as something connects and I want to play something musical, which is so rare, but as soon as that happens, it's like, I love that. It's connected in a way and it draws something out.
Yeah.
And the Tone King for me, every time I plugged into that amplifier,
That does that.
so it does that. Now, not to say that the Cali doesn't do that, because it does.
I think
It
it's
just
all
takes-
in. I think it's all in the Cali.
It is absolutely all in the Cali. And
Yeah.
every time I've recorded with the Cali, it's like, man,
Yeah.
that thing is magic.
I think it's all in the Cali,
Yeah.
and the EQ is way tweakier.
Yeah.
which is a good thing, I guess, because you can get.
That's the boogie. That's the mesa. I give up trying to say it now.
Mesa.
But that's mesa. But that's their thing, right? You can. It's so flexible. That
So
EQ
powerful.
section.
Yeah. I think it's all in the Cali. Yeah.
Cool.
Matt Lloyd. Hello, Matt.
Hey, Matt.
This might be a little off topic. Mick, how did you know when it was time to quit guitarist?
This is interesting.
And then separate to that, Dan, any advice on starting and running your own business? Okay, how did I know it was time to quit guitarist? It was a whole host of factors. And so at the time, I was horrifically stressed. I was not enjoying my life at all. I worked in a corporate environment which was getting ever more corporate and was very unpleasant. Solely bottom line focused and really removing the commitment to quality and a confusion of who the customer was. So for me, the customers were the readers. For the owners of the magazine, the customers were the advertisers.
Wow.
And that was a fundamental problem for me. And I wasn't old enough, experienced enough, smart enough to be able to change that. So I think somebody really great, with hindsight, somebody with more experience, better head on their shoulders, probably could have found a way to work that situation. I don't know if you can in a PLC, but and yeah, I felt like the motivation for wanting to get into that sort of thing in the first place was completely drowned by this corporate need to keep the company afloat and the share price up, which was tanking badly because of some awful decisions made elsewhere. So guitarists remained profitable. We were still pulling in, I don't know, a couple million a year in revenues, which is not bad for a little magazine. But that was just getting, excuse my phrase, spunked away on a load of stuff that was losing a load of money. Which is how companies work. And I was very bitter about it for a short while, and I'm less bitter about it now because I'm extremely grateful of that experience. Some days I wake up and think I would do that job so differently now. And the team that are there now do a fantastic job of it. So it's great. It was a good time in life, but what I did realise about that is that I much prefer not working for anyone. I really struggle in hierarchical environments. I'm just not good at it.
Sure.
Yeah. So.
And the advice on starting your own company, my advice would be don't, unless you are so passionate about what you want to do that you don't really care about whether you make money or not. Because it's really hard. I think everyone at some point of their life should run their own business to see what it's like and deal with employees and, getting stock and design and, it's fascinating and done properly has the opportunity to make you a better person. I think it's fantastic. But I'm not a businessman per se. I just did something that I was just really, really wanted to do. And, where are we? 2004 I started, so 17 years ago. And we didn't make any money for the first 10 years, really.
Yeah.
It was really, really hard
I've heard
work.
lots of people say that about businesses.
I think you got to be willing to make, if it's something that you can say, I want to do this and I'm up for playing the long game and I don't necessarily bothered if I don't make any money for the first 10 years, great.
Yeah. Businesses born of small passions.
Yeah.
And by small passions, I don't mean the passion itself is small. I mean the niche is small. Are the ones where you don't have a life, and you are your business, and your life is your business. Business is born of money, and
There's different.
It's a different thing.
Yeah.
It's a different thing.
Anyway, I've got no experience of those. That's
A couple of people coming in on the black panel thing. Esquire and Edward Johns, both of whom think it's kind of crazy to change the language, and let's talk about this briefly. I was of the same opinion. When I heard people saying that blackface was offensive to talk about a Fender amp, I thought that is ridiculous for the following reason. When you say blackface Fender amp, there's nothing offensive or derogatory or in any way negative about describing that amp. It's just nothing. It's not a negative context. Then I read a post that Jason Lawler wrote on his, I think it was on his Instagram and probably went out across the socials. And it explained that some people did find it problematic, and because of misunderstanding of what that term refers to, it was creating a problem and some discussion and a little bit of uncomfortableness and indeed some offence in some certain circles. So for that reason, number one, I'm really happy to change the language. Number two, black panel is a far better description of what it actually is.
Yeah, totally.
If you look at the super reverb behind me, that's what we're referring to. It's that panel along there. So not only does it save some people a bit of hassle, it's also more descriptive.
Yeah.
And
very good point.
There's nothing to lose in changing the terminology. Plus, language changes, doesn't it? And if people say, "Oh God, you can't just change," and it's like, well, go and read some Shakespeare, or go and read some Homer, and you'll see, you'll see that language changes, and it always changes, and it's good, and we should welcome that change.
Yeah.
So, totally get the debate, but I think,
I was doing some renovation in an old house in Sydney, and pulled off a layer of wallpaper, and this house was built in the 1800s. Right?
And Homer had lived there.
And, well, there was a bit of... They lined the wall with some old newspaper. And I'm reading this old newspaper. I could hardly read it. The language was so complex.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, wow. Okay, this is, a couple hundred years old. And this was the language that was going out to the masses. It's like, that's so true. The language really does change.
It does change.
Really interesting.
And it constantly evolves.
Yep.
Like us.
Yep. Warren 5 says, saying hi from South Korea. It's 1:30 a.m. Well, thank you for staying up late for us. Nice to have you on board. Have you been to South Korea?
It's not late. It's early.
Have you ever been to South Korea?
No.
I'd love to go.
No, don't go north of the river, mate.
Okay.
No, I haven't been to Korea. No.
James Abraham says, "Dost mine ears deceive me?" That's very good.
Yeah. We'll leave it there because it's obviously annoyed a lot of people. And Dan Pfeiffer, when you say everyone has to be offended about something, grow up and move on. All I would say, Dan, is your experience is not the experience of a great many people out there who have been defined as other for their whole lives. So
it doesn't cost anything.
It doesn't cost anything. It's not a problem.
No, exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, we get that it's a contentious subject. I think it's okay to have an opinion on it either way.
Yeah, cool.
Let's move on. Where are we then? S. Thomp says, always a pleasure, gents. Do you know anything about the Mesa 525 Express? I have the opportunity to purchase one at a reasonable price, but will not be able to play it. Thank you. I do.
Okay. I've got no idea. Please enlighten me.
Now, 525 I think was a 1x10 combo.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to have to check. The 535 I think was a 112. Let's have a look. Yeah, okay. 25 watts Class AB, 15 watts Class A. What is it? A couple of 6v6s maybe? Oh, it's EL84s.
Nice.
Graphic.
They're so clever with their power sections.
Graphic equalizer. Oh, it is a 112. It is a 112. My apologies. So maybe the 525 was EL84s and the 35. And then there was a 50. So the 50 is presumably two 6L6s.
Right. Yep.
Anyway, vastly capable amplifier. The switchable graphic is fantastic. You've got 2 channels, which, as always, for Mesa means a massive variety of clean and dirty sounds.
That's with the graphic thing on it. Is that it there?
Mm.
Ah, so cool.
So, fiddly, which means you need to be prepared to spend some time with it and just set up a sound that you like, because the nature of those amps where they've got loads of options means that there can be a bit of snow blindness in the beginning to find the stuff that you like more and like less. But yeah, I mean, you will rarely find me having anything negative to say about any Mesa amp.
Yeah.
I've always liked them. I used them for best part 20 years. Yeah.
I remember being in Canberra when I was on tour, and the Mesa shop in Canberra, which was run by Frank Gambale's brother. So he was the Mesa guy, Hank Gambale.
Yeah.
And he was so lovely. And so whenever we're on tour in Canberra, we'd always stop in and play a couple of amps. And I remember that's when I first played the Heartbreaker.
Oh,
Far out, man.
great amp.
Unreal. But he was, I don't know if he's still with Mesa, because that was a long time ago. But he was wonderful. So, yeah,
Nice.
good, good people.
Yeah. Hank Gambale.
Was that his name?
I don't know. Frank, Hank, and Plank. They were triplets. It's like Tad and Rad. Marcus Weil or Vile or Wheel or Veal. Marcus, hello. He says, I'm currently looking for a light core tone overdrive pedal that plays nicely with my Keeley Fuzzbender. I currently don't have an amp, sold it due to COVID, and I'm using Amplitude 5 currently. My budget is around 200 to 300-ish, which I assume you mean pounds or euros. Much the same thing at the moment.
Right.
Well, mine and Dan's new favourite overdrive pedal is the Noble's ODR1 that will be this Friday's show. Buy that.
Just by that. Wow.
There you go. There's a whole load of people throwing bananas at the screen now going, told you.
Yeah, you don't need any fancy reissue boutique rendition of. Just go down, buy the £99 ODR1. Wow.
Yep, we were very
Brilliant.
pleasantly surprised, reminded, all of the above. Our other recommendation is usually always the Greer Lightspeed.
Yeah, wonderful.
And you probably don't really need to look beyond that.
No.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Good luck. Vibas Patil. Hello, Vibas.
Hey, Vibas.
He said, I've always played Strats and find the ergonomics of a Les Paul difficult to get used to.
I get that. Totally get that.
Do you have any advice on this? I also like the ergonomics of the classic PRS shape. Do you think the PRS 594 would be a good bet? This is so interesting.
So,
I think I'm going to turn the super chats off.
okay, yeah. We have loads.
Yes, I am. I'm going to turn the super chats off because we're full up of super chats.
Flop.
Thank you. If you've super chatted to this point, we will answeralize you. If that's it, negatory to anyone who super chatterizes after this.
Indeed. Electric Religious says, blue side of the protein is my core OD always on pedal. It is. It's wonderful based on the ODR one.
Blue side is the blues breaker side. Green side is the ODR
Green
one
side is the ODR, of course, because it's the green LED depicting the. Yeah, right.
I mean,
so
I
there
said
you go.
that with great confidence. I think that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So ergonomics then. For years and years and years, I always said can't blooming play Les Pauls.
Right.
If only we've got just an average Les Paul kicking around. Let's look at this then. I always think a Les Paul sits here.
Right.
It kind of sits back a bit.
Okay.
All of this is somewhat mitigated when you're stood up.
Yep. Because it swings.
But standing, the reason I didn't like all the Les Pauls I've ever owned is because they do that.
Yeah. Right.
Body heavy. This one weighs nothing and therefore doesn't do it.
I'd just like to point out that this is a Les Paul as well, and even lighter than that one. Just pointing that out there.
Well, that's a good example. So this guitar, here's your classic PRS shape. This has a much worse tendency to body heaviness
Right.
than the Les Paul. I don't know if it's because it's got that great big block of steel in there. But I love this guitar,
Yeah.
but I cannot play it sat down. And it might also be because the small,
Little,
the little hooky on the
Yep.
leg there. So let's see where my right hand is then. Here's the rear bout of the guitar, back here. My right hand is kind of here.
left
if-
hand.
Yeah, sorry. The other left. Now, if I do a swap with Daniel, okay? Look, I'm all the way over there now.
Yeah, right.
Miles over there. And I've always preferred SGs and tellies for that reason.
Right, because it... Yeah, right.
Because they sit over there.
Yeah, right.
And that's... what I find is when I play that, I'm always 2 frets out. So the Strat...
That's really interesting.
Right? Strat's in the middle, isn't it? Strat's pretty much bang in the middle of the two.
Wow.
And I think that's why it's so comfortable.
That's
I
very interesting.
adjusted the truss rod on this week, and it's now got a massive bow in it, and the action's a mile high, and it sounds twice as good as it did last week.
Fantastic. Mick was playing that today in the Buffers show, and I was like, oh man, it was that into the 2-rock, loud, and it was. I just sat here, basking in the gloriousness of it all. Wonderful.
I'm back this way. I'm at least a fret back that way.
Yeah.
Stood up, it's not quite so. I can play this guitar stood up, and I really like playing it stood up, but sat down,
Yeah.
it's a struggle.
Yeah, totally. I think the other thing with Les Pauls though, make sure you're not up here. I think you can get away with Strats being higher, but Les Pauls, they like to be on the side, not the front, on the side and low. There's your Les Paul thing.
Yeah. So there you go. That's what we think about that Vibas. I hope that is in some way helpful. So I'm burping. I've had a fizzy drink this evening. Sadly with no alcohol in it. Sorry, Vibas, there we are. We've got you. So I suppose it's just familiarity, isn't it? Because I play Strats my whole life.
Yeah.
That place seems about right.
It's a special skill to be able to go from guitar to guitar to guitar. You know what I mean? And make it seamless. But for just get more familiar with it.
Yeah.
Stand up with it as much as you can as well, because that's a whole different thing.
I find it so much easier to play stood up than I do sat down.
I hear you.
Mike Hickman, hello Mike. He says, I'm a pro bass player thinking of making a move to the UK. What are some good cities to move to for a great music scene and lots of gigs? Love to you guys. Thanks so much for everything.
Wow. Well, you're so welcome. Boy.
London,
of course. Glasgow is a great music place.
Yeah. Ireland used to be generally brilliant.
Yeah.
Now, forgive me if I'm getting my Great Britain's and UK's mixed up there, but Ireland in general.
Yep. Manchester.
Yeah.
Was really good.
But better than that, pretty much any major European city.
That's the thing, isn't it? Oh
where
man.
They seem to care a little bit more about live music.
What's that? Germany.
Frankfurt, Hamburg.
No.
Berlin.
Berlin.
Yeah. I would definitely go for some of the bigger places. Also look at regions. Obviously, there will be very passionate people who live in all regions across the UK saying, come here, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Certainly where we live, it's not great, the southwest. Unfortunately, everything happens in London.
Yeah. And
Glasgow.
Yep.
Maybe Newcastle.
Yeah, there's
Manchester,
there are places around.
Liverpool.
Yeah, Liverpool, Manchester, some really cool places up north. Any time that I've spent in Ireland, I've always been able to walk down to a pub and just see some of the most incredible musicians. Even on like like an open mic night
Where's that?
in Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been to so Dublin, Belfast, and Londonderry, somewhere in Londonderry. Anyway, been there a few times, and it's like, wow, that's part of their culture.
Yeah.
You know, that,
Don't get annoyed with us
alive.
for conflating Ireland with Northern Ireland, which will obviously...
Sorry, I'm Australian.
Which will anger a lot of people to a great
yeah.
degree. I guess we're talking about the whole island of Ireland.
Yep.
Is what we're talking about.
Yeah, beautiful.
George... Anyway, Mike, suffice to say that whenever Dan and I go to the US, we're always blown away with the music scene.
Wonderful.
Which, of course, is not universally true in the US, but it tends to be because we go to LA or Nashville or New York. George Radcliffe says,
Hey,
how would
George.
you describe your personal balance of cognitive effort while playing and improvising?
Great question.
How much do you
Wow.
consciously think about chord changes, intervals, degrees, etc., versus feel that you're subconsciously engaged in a state of flow?
So I can answer for me. It's because I'm working on that part of my music at the moment. I'm finding it really hard not to think about that stuff. And the more I think about that stuff, the more I suck when I play. I'm trying to get to a point where I'm so comfortable that I can just forget it all and just be in the moment and listen to it. But it's really hard. You play what you practice, right? And it's really hard to say, okay, I'm going to leave that there now and just be in the moment and let it come forward. Because what I practice makes me sound like an idiot. However, there have been moments where a few things have come out. It's like, oh, that's cool, and I can see the journey it would take me on. Mm-hmm. But it's really hard to get out of my head.
It's shortening the gap, isn't it? It's
Right.
shortening the gap between the idea and then what comes out. Because if you, to use your word, cognitive process, and if we think of a cognitive process, some of them happen, and again, psychologists, please don't shoot me for saying this, but whether you want to use the term subconscious, unconscious, there are things that we are clearly thinking about, and there are things that happen sort of without thinking.
Yeah.
Try not to get hung up on whether that's subconscious or conscious or whatever, because they mean different things to different people. But we're trying to shorten that process, whatever that cognitive process is, whether it's conscious or unconscious or subconscious, of a feeling and an emotion, and then what comes out the end of your fingers. I don't know how one would measure that, but what he said is right. You when you practice, and that's when your cognitive function is kind of grinding the gears. And, you know, if you watch somebody playing with pure thinking about what they're trying to play, it's usually a pretty unpleasant experience.
Yeah.
But if you see someone playing who has a greater degree of flow, it tends to sound more musical to me anyway, as a generalization. And that might mean playing something more simple than you want to play. And the only way I can play is muscle memory. My brain's I haven't worked on my brain enough to be able to do that quick cognition improvisation thing. It's more, I'll play something 2,000 times and get it so under the fingers that it is much less conscious. And that means you can play a lot of the same old stuff over and over again, which, you know, I'm guilty of, but I think lots of people are guilty of. But I will trade that. I'll trade a slightly less complex harmonic knowledge and delivery for feeling it. Because for me, it's a trade-off. Yeah. It's not for other people. Like, we were listening to John Schofield the other day, and I don't know, it's so funny, having interviewed so many people over the years and edited so many interviews over the years, I forget whether it was me that did the interview or whether I was editing the interview. I've literally done thousands of them over the years. So in this interview, whether I was talking to him or whether it was something I was editing, he was saying the minute he starts to get into a phrase that is a what I would consider muscle memory, something that I'm very comfortable playing, a pattern, a scale, he breaks it.
As soon as he's aware.
As soon as he's aware
Wow.
he's going down a trodden path, he breaks it. And
That's amazing.
And I suppose there will be jazz musicians down the ages who would say a similar thing.
Yeah.
And that's true improvisation. Personally, I mean, in John Scofield's case, I'll listen to it all day long. But in a lot of other cases, I just don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
It's a mess to me.
No, I get it.
But when you practice, practice.
Yeah.
And when you play. Robin Ford said that to me.
Yeah.
Honk.
Very good.
Yeah.
Lovely.
And I think you could extend that to anything you do in life, not just playing the guitar.
Edward John says the great improvisers like Charlie Parker and John Coltrane practiced up to 16 hours a day so they could shortcut that process during the gig. Just got to put the work in. There is no shortcuts for that stuff. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's why I love, when I've seen Paul Stacey play, and he can do the thing, like he can sound like Holdsworth, but he can also, when he's feeling it, he'll just play a note, one note, like for ages. And everyone's going, "What are you doing?" And he's just like, "This is what I'm feeling right now." And I love that. I absolutely love that. It takes courage to do that, to actually play what you're feeling.
Yeah, Jeff Rock says, the old Matrix quote, "Stop trying to play and just play." Yeah, Yoda.
The Bruce Lee quote. Don't think, feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yoda. No try there is, only do or do not. What? That's what he says, isn't it? So you don't try to play or don't play.
Yeah.
Which is all very well if you're Yoda. Matt Gilbert and Fred Wolf are moaning about where they come from, saying live bands are dead here in Sydney.
Oh, no. That's heartbreaking to hear.
Even before COVID, it was moribund. It's funny, I'm always tempted to say those things because I think I'm a bit down on the fact I don't make more effort to get out and play. But Paddy dropped in earlier. Pad, who's awesome session bass player and is the bass player in the TPS band if we get our stuff together enough to do something. And he's just finished a run of dates with the Hoosiers. He says his book's as full as it's ever been. And he showed us a picture of his bass rig, blooming
massive
300 watt or however many watts it is, 600 watt Fender valve stack. And he said, "That's my amp and we play loud." And I'm like, yes. Happy days.
Yeah.
So
if it's tricky to say, but if you're a musician in your area and there's not a lot going on, it's kind of balls in your court to sort of get out there and do something with it. It's like I have conversations with my sister about this stuff all the time, and she was saying that one of her friends was bemoaning that they couldn't get any musicians for their church. And Darlene said, just start having rehearsals. And even if it's only you that turns up, just start having them.
Yeah.
And every week people would start coming along. Then all of a sudden they've got a band.
Build it and they will come.
Absolutely. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Moon, I'm going to quote you, Moon, because this is great. He says, my favourite quote is, "To pull an ace from your sleeve, you have to put one in there first."
That's very good.
That is...
Wow.
We don't know who to attribute that quote to, Moon, but
I love that.
That is really spectacular.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Where are we now then? Jason Hogan. Hello, Jason. Do you have any opinions on Tone Rider pickups? I'm looking at their Alnico 4 humbuckers as a budget-friendly upgrades for my Epiphone Sheraton 2. I'm hoping they'll be more articulate than the muddy, sluggish stock ones. I don't know anything about Tone Rider pickups, I'm afraid.
No.
What I would say is make sure you upgrade the pots and switch and wiring to 50s wiring with some good stuff. I think you'd be astounded how much difference that can make.
Yep, totally. Got 1,000 people watching us at the moment.
God, what's wrong with the world?
Explains a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you all for hanging around.
Here.
That's great.
Hopefully some of you are doing other things such as cooking and working. Let's have a
Toast
look.
is burning.
Tone Rider. Yeah, they look good. They look good.
Yeah.
History.
We're very fortunate with pickup
Canterbury and
manufacturers that there's so many great pickups out there.
Yeah, they make them. Small amount of yes. Yeah. No reason why to think they would be anything less than good.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Simon Park says 1001. Thank you, Simon. And Mobius says it's because Facebook is down.
Is it?
No, I don't believe for
I
a
hope it
second.
stays down. Alan R. Johnson. No, Tony Moore. Hello, Tony. I ordered a couple of T-shirts, sticker pack, and a little pin last week. Arrived in the US 2 days after the order.
Oh, man.
Amazing. Thanks for the awesome service.
That's
Thank you
wonderful.
for buying stuff, Tony. Actually, yeah, UPS from that pedal show store is really, really good to
Yep.
the US.
Yep.
I just wish we could find something that worked for Europe.
Yep. Very tricky.
Alan R. Johnson. What about developing a hybrid pedal board for rhythm guitar players that play both electric and acoustic? I'm thinking Chase Bliss preamp and 78 reverb. Discuss.
Yeah, cool. If you've got the ability to have different presets with those pedals, great. I mean, I ran my acoustic into a blues driver for years. It sounded amazing, but I wouldn't have the same settings on the blues driver as I would for my electric. Yeah, I think if you've got the ability to have different presets on those pedals, like the Chase Bliss, you know, any of that stuff that is programmable, then for sure. But it is, if you can't do that, then it does become tricky. You will need to adjust things. Like, for example, you know, the output impedance on your acoustic will more than likely be buffered. So that's, you know, a different thing to contend with already. Yeah.
John, the aforementioned John Smith juggles an electric and acoustic board, and it's
Yep.
basically, well, he has 2 lines for his acoustic guitar anyway, or at least at the time of last time I spoke to him, he had 2 lines, one for his one pickup source and one for another, and they get blended and they do different things.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think his electric guitar bit of the pedal board bypasses a couple of things and uses a couple of other things. So
Yeah.
it's, you know, it involves a switcher, or it involves some different cabling, or maybe a different input. One thing that could be really useful, I was going to say 3-2-1 because you can have different ins, but then you're still going to the same thing after that. It's a really tough one. It depends what sort of electric and acoustic guitar sounds you use. If you use really traditional electroacoustic guitar sounds, then it really does have to be a very different signal chain than an electric guitar thing, just because the frequencies are so completely different. But, you know, there's plenty of people that play acoustic guitars into Fender Twins and the like.
Yep.
For a different sort of take on it. So, yeah, totally doable. Totally
Totally.
doable. I would have thought also if you use magnetic pickup, like a sound hole pickup, that might make it a bit easier too.
Yeah. Do you remember the old Seymour Duncan Woody?
I do.
I love the sound of those things. They were great.
I like them up to about the 7th fret.
Yeah.
And then
Great
after
for
that,
rhythm guitar. Yeah,
not so much.
totally.
Yeah.
Chris Parsons says, I'm building a pedal board right now. Does that count as productive? That is the most productive.
Good on
Chris.
you.
Most productive. That's wonderful, mate.
Steve Mass again. He says, I use Ernie Ball Cobalts with 10, 13, 17. I'd like to try the Kurt Mangan Dan set, but I'm a bit concerned about moving up to 11, 14, 18. I'll be putting them on a PRS with a 25-inch scale. What are your thoughts?
Go for it. That'd be wicked.
My main strings for many years were D'Addario, whatever the standard D'Addario ones are.
Right.
XLs, maybe. I also really like the NY XLs.
Okay. I struggled a bit with those.
And Ernie Ball Slinkies.
Anibal Slinkers are wonderful.
All of the above I quite like. The Kurt Mangans, gauge for gauge, have less tension than all of the above.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
Whether they measure as less tension is probably not the case.
Yep.
But the elasticity in the feel of the string feels easier for me. It's one reason I really like the Kurt Mangans. They do have a different feel. Especially over the NYXLs. The NYXLs very stiff feeling.
Very stiff. That was my problem with them.
Yeah.
That's what I struggled with. But
So- Sorry.
Sorry, I was just saying, but you're exactly right. So after the show we did with Josh Smith, and he had those massive heavy strings on, and he just sounded like a flippin' freight train. I was like, I want to try this, and I love the sound of the thicker gauge strings. Having the Kurtz though, they don't feel, the tension does feel different, and so I can play them. So if what you're worried about is too much tension, I would say give them a go, because the Kurt ones do feel slinkier, if that's a word that I can use.
Yeah. I don't know the Cobalts very well. I don't know where they sit in the Ernie Ball lineup, but hopefully what we've just said about those other strings is that might help you make a decision. I think they'd be worth a try. Yeah.
Yep.
Michael says, any regular maintenance you can recommend for a stock Blues Junior 4? Tasks, timing, etc. Thank you. I turned my Blues Junior 4, I think it's a 4, might be a 3, on yesterday, and the pots are dirty to the point where I don't think the bass pot's working.
Oh, okay.
So clean the pots.
Mm-hmm.
How do you clean the pots?
Well, you have to get inside the amp.
You can't just put switch cleaner in.
You can, but it's not really efficient, because you've got to try and get it down the
spine,
the shaft of the thing.
EL84 amps I always find need and like being retubed more than 6L6 and EL34 amps.
Well, yeah, I mean, depending on the design, they're working pretty hard. If you can,
like RAC15, every now and again, it's like starts grumbling, and it's like, oh, it needs new output tubes.
Yeah,
but it depends how hard you push it.
It's hard to recommend servicing on a valve amp, because there's dangerous voltages inside, and we would never recommend you getting inside that thing unless you know what you're doing. There's some really good information on there, though, if you want to look into that. If you've never done it before and you're going from a standing start and you want to be able to look after your amplifiers, there's a lot of really good information out there. The Aspen Pittman Tube Amp book is a wonderful place for that sort of information. How to service a valve amp, another book, a guitar player playing a soldering iron on the front cover.
I don't know how easy they are to work on now, because obviously it's all PC board.
Yeah, the new ones to get in at the valves is tricky.
Yeah,
because you've got to take off the cover around the valves and the special equipment they need to do that.
I'd go with more preventative stuff, like, unlike me, don't leave it in a dusty environment with no cover on it.
Very good point.
And just this shouldn't be too much you need to do other than a sort of periodic re-valve. And the good news is, on an amp like that, maybe you do have to have it biased.
Which one?
The Blues Junior.
I don't think so.
Because it could be fixed.
Is it not running cathode bias, Blues Junior? Okay,
probably
I'm
not.
Not sure.
I don't know. But you no need to do anything to it unless it grumbles.
Yeah.
And if it grumbles, it'll be noisy. It'll make all sorts of noises. Yeah. Failing that, give it to an amp tech.
Yeah. I mean, if ever I have issues with my amp, I give Jesse Hoff a call from Lazy J and just say, because I'm really happy to get in there and have a look around.
Which we don't recommend you do, by the way, because you can die.
You can die, so don't do that. But the thing is, it's like Jesse knows everything. And so I'd rather just go to him, A, to hang out with him because he's just the best. But B, because if there is something wrong, he'll find it in 2 minutes, where it'll take me hours and hours and hours. I don't have that time.
Yeah.
So I'd rather take it to someone who really, really knows what they're doing.
Yeah. Timothy E says, about cleaning pots, watch Uncle Doug. And Gordon Rankin, hello Gordon, he says, never clean pots. It removes the protective coating on the carbon. Really, get an amp tech and replace them. Plus, if you spray that stuff, it can cause a short, as it's a liquid.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Matt Cambridge wants to see a no fuzz here range of trilbies. For the balding man who has nothing to hide but still wants to.
Indeed. Very good.
Yeah. Haven't changed the Tubes and My Blues Junior for 13 years, says DCK Strat 90.
Well, Dave Gregory is still running the original valves he has in his matchless DC30 from 94, I believe. And he uses that amp all the time. He's never changed the valves.
There you go.
And it sounds astonishing.
Jimbo Diddley says, thanks for not pronouncing it D'Addario, like so many say. It drives me nuts. You've pronounced it correctly, D'Addario. I think the people who own the company say D'Addario.
Oops.
I think.
Right.
But, you know, being from Europe, there's a D, an apostrophe, and then Addario. So for me, it's D'Addario. But there we are.
Yeah.
So anyway, Jim, glad you're happy. Yes.
G Barge says, where there's cleaning, there's civilization. I like that. That's very good.
Dan has encouraged me to read *Sapiens*, the book, which I have on audio when I walk the dog in the morning, and some of the things they observed about the development of various human species was stuff like cleaning,
right,
and looking after others.
Right.
So having a more domesticated environment and finding. And that was one of the great definers between Neanderthal man, who gets a very bad rap.
He does get a bad rap.
Yeah, or Neanderthals in general, so not just the men. Was pretty good at most things, but wasn't very good at being organised over about 100 people.
That's I'd be extinct.
Yeah,
like in a week.
And
with my wife.
Anyway, yeah. So I think you're right, G. It's a sign of civilization to start doing things like that. Argument to say Neanderthal person was a great deal happier than Homo sapien.
Okay.
Yeah. Didn't burden himself with stuff like cleaning.
No. Homo sapien was a bit stabby in the end, wasn't he?
In the end. Well, we haven't quite got there yet. We're nearly there, but not quite there yet. It is astonishing, you know. I can't help get my head around this. Big Bang, 13 billion years, if you're not a creationist, if you go for the whole Big Bang argument, 13 billion years.
Long time ago.
Ish.
Yeah, older than my telly.
Yeah.
Older than this one.
And so loads of stuff happened. 15 billion years is about that big, right?
Right.
Man, human, has been around...
Hair.
Well, human species, 6 distinct human species apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Couple million years ago, maybe.
Okay.
For the first ones.
Yep.
Whether they were quadrupeds or whatever. By the time we get to, 50,000 years ago, 80 to 30,000 years ago, the cognitive revolution, various species, it's really only 10 to 12.
What do we want? Cognitive. When do we want it? Now. Is that okay?
I don't know. I can't think of it.
Let them eat omega-3.
10 to 12,000 years ago, we get, and again, if you go for this, I hope I'm not offending anyone with this talk of Darwinism. You get to 10 to 12,000 years ago, Homo sapiens starts to become the dominant human, right?
Mark Sidney Miller says, my strings are 13 billion years old. Yes, okay.
And Homo sapien starts to get dominant, and from about 10,000 years ago, nothing else but Homo sapien as human species. Lots of theories about why, but anyway, we won't worry about that. 10,000 years ago.
Yep.
The history that we really talk about is 2,000 years old, since, Christ. Not even going there. Whole other range of stuff to talk about. But, we talk about Stonehenge and stuff 3,000 years before that.
Stonehenge. All right, yeah.
5,000 years, right? 5,000 years, a long time.
No,
so
we're
from our
not doing
13 billion,
Stonehenge tomorrow.
we're now at about like a tenth of a millimetre.
Yeah.
5,000 years. Everything we know, really, has happened in the last 200 years, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Internal combustion engine.
All that stuff.
It is remarkable. The up curve, and by up I don't mean better, I just mean up curve, in development in the last 200 years, in the last 50, and the last 10.
Right. Do you think we're going to level out?
I don't think it's looking great for Homo sapien, I have to say. It does make the whole environmental debate quite interesting when you look at it over 13 billion years.
Morpheus says, Homo sapien says, what is cognition? Neanderthal says, I don't know. Very good. Very good.
So there we
Well
go.
done.
That's what's been occupying me on my
HK
morning.
says, aqueducts. Oh, very good.
Yeah,
Very good.
nice.
Moving along.
Anyway, not that that was a tangent or anything. How did we get there?
I don't know.
Was it about how often you should change your tubes?
Once every 13 billion years.
It was more about the last 200 years being really everything we know. And if you went back much before that, you wouldn't recognise much.
One of my son's friends says, I saw you on a YouTube ad. Says, right? Says, what's the show about? Says, couldn't you tell from the ad? He said, no. The other guy was saying, stuck his thumb right up his... Anyway.
Yeah, but, more prosaically and much more interestingly, Ed Bromiel says, hi Dan and Mick, I was wondering if you could recommend an amp upgrade for an AC style amp. I was thinking either a used Morgan AC40 or a Bad Cat. Matchless is out of my price range.
Both of those are fantastic. The Bad Cat might have a bit more gain. The Morgan...
I like the AC20 as well.
Yeah, Morgan AC20, AC40, both are fantastic. I don't know what divided by 13 amps are going for. They're also really good. And also, check out the 65 amps stuff as well. Depending on if you need more headroom, they had an amp called the London, which I thought was great. Basically, half was an AC15, half was a Marshall 20. Killer amplifier.
Yeah.
But if what you need is, more, yeah, the Morgan is wonderful.
Yeah, Morgan would be,
the Victory Copper.
Yeah.
Check that out as well, because that thing is wonderful. But I've never plugged into a Morgan and not gone, oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's really, really nice.
I don't know if Dr. Z does any EL80. Yeah, of course they do. Carmen Gear,
The
yeah,
Stingray.
and all of that, yeah. So check out Dr. Z as well. I'd
Yeah.
heartily recommend Dr. Z amps, played by Brad Paisley, who is, apart from Dan, the biggest Vox AC30 fan on the planet.
Yeah, mega.
And maybe Brian May. Yeah. Just trying to see if anyone's... It's great. I'm really pleased that Nova's got angry about the last conversation. Most people are just quoting Spinal Tap, so
Wonderful.
everything is
Thank
good.
Thank you.
Everything is good. I'm asking for a harmonious monk for Christmas, says Kelvin Mack.
From Santa Claus.
Happy Effectsmas, Dan.
Thank you very much.
We are doing a Happy Effectsmas t-shirt, just so you know. Largely spurred on by the fact I get up every morning on Christmas going, oh God, I've got to wear something festive. And decided, why doesn't anyone make a cool festive t-shirt?
Yeah.
And I'm sure they do, but I just don't have any, so we thought we'd fill that gaping chasm. Anyway, Kelvin wants to know. Have we used the harmonious monk in an effects loop? Oh, I feel a bit warm, Dan. The harmonious monk works great in an effects loop. I have kicked the harmonious monk up and down my pedal board using any combination of really crazy loud fuzzes, clones, Chase Bliss preamps, so I'm pretty certain that it will be just fine in an effects loop.
Yeah, it depends on the effects loop and the level going into it, but it's got quite a wide range, so you should be good.
Yeah, and thank you for requesting that Christmas present.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you.
And we hope all your Christmas dreams are fulfilled, Kelvin. And Danta Claus is indeed nice to you.
Barreling down your chimney,
Yeah.
emptying his big red sack full of...
It's turned into Anderton's. Where's Danish Pete when you need him? I'm really sorry for the outburst. I thought I could hold it in, and I couldn't hold it in. Anyway, Christopher Burnett. Hi, Christopher. If I can see through the tears. He says, "Hola, gents. I recently picked up a 96 Gibson All-American 2, and I'm loving it. It's like a Les Paul Jr. and a Strat had a baby. Curious if either of you have played one. Best wishes." No, I haven't. Let's have a look. All-American 2. Oh, dear. Oh, interesting. Like a double cut. Almost like a Gordon Smith.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So what's that? What? I mean, I guess they did a double cut Junior, did they? Didn't look like that, though.
No.
For the benefit of those of you at home. Here is reverb.com. Here is that thing there.
It looks cool, though.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks a little bit like an old Ibanez artist.
Yeah, it's...
Or an Aria Pro 2.
Yeah.
They used to have something that looked a bit like that. No, very cool.
I mean, it's like two bottom halves of a Les Paul.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right.
Obviously, Gibson have done double cut Junior style things, but the shape was a bit different.
Yeah.
And it's not a million miles away from an SG, is it?
No.
I don't know
nice.
what's the body. Read more. Mahogany, yeah. Just simple slab mahogany body guitars are a wonderful thing, aren't they? Cool,
Yep.
nice.
Very good.
Nope, never played one. Looks really cool. Congrats. I just hit 40, said Sab Rosa.
You're spring chicken.
Yeah, Dan and I didn't enjoy 40 very much.
Turning 40.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've just turned 50 like a few weeks ago, and it was my best decade to put so far.
Yeah.
But I'm gearing up. This one's going to be pretty great. But
Yeah.
But turning 40 was the hardest. Was much harder than turning 50. Turning 40.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy turning 40, but I would agree with you. The last 8 years have been easily the best of my life ever.
Yeah.
Which is good. That should how it works. That should be how it works.
Yeah.
It's because we started that pedal show,
That's right.
obviously.
Yep.
Anyway, he says, I bought a Fender 62 American Vintage Strat in blonde.
Nice.
Ash body, slab board, Fat 50 pickups. Mick, how do these compare to the Fat 60s? Also, on Transit Van, still thinking of an all maple neck. Cheers. So I'm confused. No, I'm no longer confused. Interesting. Fat 50s pickups. I don't actually know, is the truth. I got Fat 60s because they're the sort of rosewood board ones, whereas I've always assumed that Fat 50s were a maple board type pickup,
Right.
which I'm assuming is down to the Alnico choice, the shape of the magnets maybe, and some other stuff. I've never tried them. I would like to.
David Burns says, turning 40 on Thursday. Well, happy birthday for Thursday.
And to you, Sub Rosa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, mate.
Are you still thinking of an all maple neck for Transit Van? I'm not, and the reason I'm not is that Transit Van is a really nice guitar. The neck is just a bit too thin for me.
If I think of what a Strat sounds like, Transit Van.
Yeah, and it's just a really nice guitar, so I don't want to mess about with it. It's a great guitar. It sounds good. It feels good. I would like a maple neck Strat. I really would, and one day I'll just get a 55, 56 reissue type.
What's Rabia's?
55
That's an amazing guitar.
reissue. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a great
stunning.
guitar. I think. The earlier ones for the slabbier necks. It's just, I know people will dispute this up and down the internet, but it's a really different sound and feel to me.
It really is.
And I really like it. And I like it in a tweedier environment too. Because there's something about the mid-range of a really good maple board Strat that's in a very different place to the rosewood.
That's interesting, actually. Thinking about that era
Yeah.
and the voicing of the amplifiers and those guitars. And then when you head into the 60s, and the voicing of the black panel amps and those guitars.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, that is. I hadn't really considered that before. Anyway, enjoy that guitar Sub Rosa. Sounds really cool. Ash body on a rosewood board is a really cool thing, actually.
Yeah.
Our good friend Matt Schofield, he has a hardtail SVL with that setup, and it does sound quite different from his other guitar. Yeah, nice. And happy birthday, congrats. Sam M. Hello, Sam.
Hello, Sam.
What are your feelings about DIY pedals? Would you be interested in making one?
What do I feel about DIY pedals? I think they're fantastic. The most interesting thing about a DIY pedal is the easiest part is the circuit board. That's, if you get a DIY pedal with a circuit board and it's just, you don't even need to know what you're doing. They mark out where everything goes, you pop them in, solder them on, done. The hardest thing is getting all the pots, getting the power supply in there, getting the jacks in there, getting it all to a point where it'll work as a pedal. That's the hard part. But the actual circuit board itself is relatively simple.
About 3 years ago, George Trips visited us.
Yeah.
And
Was that 3 years ago?
No, it must have been, because I think it was in the old place.
It was in the old place.
And he brought us a Bago fuzz face, which was a fuzz face with some various components. And I keep looking at it going, we should just
build that.
do that one day, because it's half the half the work's already done, given that the board's already there. As someone who is relatively time poor for leisure activities, as much as I think building pedals would be cool, and I have massive respect for anyone who does it, I'm much more of a YDI person. You do it.
You do it. YDFM, you do it for me.
Yeah. Because if I do get a few hours, I want to play the guitar or ride my motorbike.
Totally.
Is the truth of the matter.
Totally.
So, but total respect for anyone who does. And the amount of learning, presumably, is giant.
Oh, it's great. It's great fun. I found the first pedal I ever built a few weeks ago. I called it the Norbert, which is like a Phase 90 clone. Yeah, it's great fun and you learn heaps.
Matthew Gordon says, hi, gents. Here's a shameless plug. On Sunday at the Phoenix in Exeter, this coming Sunday, is a memorial concert for blues musician and music journalist Julian Piper. There are 20 plus acts with proceeds going to charity. Anyone who fancies a day of live music, all welcome. Well, that sounds good. Exeter, in the southwest of England, a place called the Phoenix, on Sunday. I actually knew Julian, weirdly.
Really?
Yeah, and I say knew, it sounds like he has died, and if he has, I didn't know that. He used to write on Guitarist magazine and other magazines that I worked on. Yeah, he died in 2019. I didn't know that. He's commissioned him for many pieces.
Wow.
Cool. Nice memorial for Julian then down in Exeter on Sunday, if you're around. Thanks for that, Matthew. Much appreciated. Ian Fan. Upgrading from Hot Rod Deluxe. Which would you choose for high headroom? Victory V40, Victory 40 Danish Pete, V35 the Copper, JHS Milkman, or a Morgan AC20? I would say all of those amps, with the possible exception of the JHS Milkman, has less headroom than the Hot Rod Deluxe.
Yeah. The Milkman... Yeah. I remember playing the Milkman at NAMM. It's stunning sounding thing. But yeah, I can't speak to its headroom, but I'm pretty sure you're correct. I'm pretty sure the Hot Rod Deluxe the headroom will bury those.
I think I was involved in the V40's development, and I know it very well. and it does overdrive pretty quick.
Yeah.
The 140's got tons of headroom. But yeah, I would... Hot Rod Deluxe. It does, those of you who play Hot Rod Deluxe and watch the show on Friday, you'll know that anything past about 2.5, it starts to overdrive. But that's pretty blimmin' loud.
Yeah. Yep. It really is.
Certainly on a variant 3, it might be they changed the tapers a bit on the 4s, but yeah, I would say that all of those amps are probably less headroom than a Hot Rod Deluxe.
Yeah.
If you want high headroom from a Hot Rod Deluxe, I would maybe look at a Hot Rod DeVille.
Yeah, right.
60
That's
watts.
a great shout, actually.
And then after that, 2 Rock Studio Pro 35 would literally bury all of those amps for clean headroom.
Yep. I heard the Wurzels years ago, and the guitar player plugged straight into a DeVille, and he had one solo in the whole night, and he just leveled the place. Like for about 8 bars, it's all lovely and sounded great, and then it just went bah. I was like, man, yeah, those things can really kick.
I don't wish to one up your Wurzel story, Dan, but I did my first ever big gig supporting the Wurzels, and it was at Bath and West Showground.
Right.
I'm sure I've told this story before. I'm going to tell it anyway.
I don't remember it.
So there's a guy called Pete who was lead singer of the Wurzels at the time, and we had a band, and I think I was maybe 14 or 15 years old, 15 maybe. And we all dressed in denim shirts and denim jeans, and we played, 15-year-old's version of blues. And I don't know how many people were there, like quite a lot of people. Yeah. It's a big room.
Mm-hmm.
And we're about to go on, and Pete came to me and he said, "You nervous, son?" And I said, "Yes, I am, Mr. Wurzel." And he said, "Well, I got some advice for you."
Scrumpy Jack!
No, he used a swear word, which I can't say. We'll say fiddle. He said, "I got some advice for you. Fiddle 'em. Just go out there and fiddle 'em." Fiddle wasn't the word. It was another word beginning with F that is a swear word. And I've carried that with me to this day.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, I used to work for the agency that booked them in this venue. So I was backstage with them, and literally a crate of Scrumpy Jack brought into the back room.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. But they were wonderful.
The best thing about the Wurzels was the bass player at the time, and I apologise, I don't know his name, had a Frisian cow-shaped Fender bass.
Fantastic.
Fender had made him. He had a Fender like precision neck on it, I think, and a body shaped and coloured like a Frisian cow.
Well, this was probably, 15 years ago that I did this, and the drummer was 80 then.
Wow.
So, yeah. But anyway, Wurzels, awesome.
Yeah. Drink up the cider. Bill J. Hello, Bill. He says, "Hi, guys. Analog Man Sunface and Cali 76 and Tumnus Mini.
Okay.
Where do I put the Cali 76? I'm assuming after the Sunface and before the Tumnus. Thanks for all the inspiration and fun."
It can go there. More importantly, what's the job you want it to do?
Yeah.
If you want it as a boost into the Tumnus, that's one thing. If you want to compress everything after the Tumnus, that's another thing. You may not ever have it on with the Tumnus, or dare say with the fuzz. In that case, it doesn't really matter. But try it before and after the Tumnus. It might be that the way that you set it, the job that you want it to do, works really well into the Tumnus.
Yeah.
That would be the most obvious place to put it, I'd say.
Yeah, and what he said about what do you use it for? If you go for an overt compression sound like a country guitar sound or a funk guitar sound,
well done.
Before the Tumnus.
I noticed the.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's good. No, you went. It's like.
Yeah, keeping it down.
Yeah.
I had a big fizzy drink. There's a nice man called Greg that's opened a convenience.
Bless Greg.
A convenience food establishment up at the top of the road.
There's a couple of them, isn't there?
And I missed lunch today, so I had to whiz up there. I've seen more than one.
More than one Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah, the plural of Greg.
Yeah, Greg's.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And Greg seems like a very nice chap and makes good value for money, nutritious food for people that are on the move. It's a new idea. Anyway, I went up to sample some of Greg's latest recipes. And
He's knocking it out of the park, actually.
he really is.
Yeah, he's doing
I was
great.
impressed. I had a... anyway, how do we come to Greg's?
Man.
We're talking about compressors.
Okay.
Oh, I was burping because I had a fizzy beverage.
And you compress the burp.
Yeah.
Right, very good.
So if over compressor sound like a country guitar, like the hackneyed country guitar sound or a funky guitar sound where you physically hear the compressor, yes, before the tumblers. If I always think of Cali 76 in the same sort of ballpark as something like an LA2A, so it's more like a studio tool in the way that, it especially in the 1176 lineage, the way that Lowell George would use two of them chained together. So it's very much a post thing, very much a kind of shaper, an overall shaper.
Right.
And so in that sense, after. Because what's quite nice about that, especially with the Cali 76, is you've got blend control.
Yeah,
so
that's
you don't,
very cool.
with an overt compression sound as you were playing like country or funk, and I apologise for those examples, but they're what we think of. You lose the front of the note, and that's what that compression is all about.
Mm-hmm.
With that post-compression, more studio-type compression, you don't lose the front of the note quite in the same way, but you do benefit from the sustain thereafter.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, that's how I like my compressors.
Yep.
I don't like that lose all the front of the note.
Yep.
Because if
totally.
you do that in front of the tumnus, you'll also lose all the overdrive
Yes.
until it wakes up again.
Yes. Very good.
Dan taught me all that, obviously. Good luck, Bill. Aaron Dempsey. Hello, Aaron. I just got a Hot Rod Deluxe with a Celestion A-type speaker. Nice.
Very good.
So that must be a version 4. To pair with my 65 Deluxe Reverb reissue with a Cannabis Rex speaker.
Nice.
For wet dry. The Deluxe Reverb is dry. Hot Rod Deluxe is wet.
Perfect.
With effects in the loop. Should the Hot Rod Deluxe or the Deluxe Reverb be the main amp?
Well, what do you mean by main amp? As in, because if you've got a dry amp and a wet amp.
Yeah, probably.
Well,
no, that's a good question.
I mean, if you're running them wet dry, and it's a symbiosis. But I do think having the character of that deluxe, hard to get past that. The reason the Hot Rod works brilliantly as the wet amplifier is because of that headroom. Spectacular pedal platform. Having the Deluxe Reverb, though, is that amp that gives a little bit when you dig in. If you're at a point where you're actually able to turn the thing up, it is the most glorious noise. I think, for me, that's the way I would certainly start running it. Try it the other way as well, but, I love the idea of having the Deluxe as the dry amp and the pedal platform with the Hot Rod Deluxe. I think that's spectacular.
Yeah, the higher headroom amp, I always think works better as the wet amp. I certainly, whenever I use a 2-rock with anything, it's always, the 2-rock always gets everything.
Yeah, and it sounds
and then
spectacular.
the other
with
amp does
everything.
the
little bit of
extra. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, nice. That
Very
should be
good.
some great noises there, Aaron. Dilwa 3. Hello D&M, I'm curious to know your thoughts on G&L. I just picked up a Tribute Legacy S style and I am loving it.
Yeah.
G&L guitars, George Fullerton and Leo Fender. One of the things that Leo did after Fender. I've had 3 ASATs.
Wow.
And I always like the sound of them. I don't like the neck profile.
Right.
Too slim for me, although they do a couple of different neck profiles. And I'm sorry to say I can't do the poly finish.
I hear you.
It's just like,
Yeah.
as someone who loves looking at old Fenders and Gibsons,
Right.
that old knackered nitrocellulose look. But sound-wise, my goodness me.
Every time we pull out is it an ASAT that we've got? The telly-shaped ASAT. And it's like you say, the poly finish, ceramic pickups, all the stuff that we generally steer away from. every time we plug it in, it's like, wow.
It's a great sounding
It's
guitar.
a wonderful, wonderful sounding thing. One of my dear friends, Mark Johns, used to play in this full-on prog band called Pond Life. And he played an old G&L in that, and it was one of the most awesome guitar sounds. They're fabulous.
Cool, yeah. So the Legacy is a more S-shaped one, as you know. Yeah, cool.
Nick Burson says, I just ordered a G&L ASAP with nitro finish and a big neck.
Oh, wicked.
Interesting.
Yeah. So obviously you can do that from their custom shop. Anderton's had some sparkle ones that look really cool.
Right. For me, it's like if I wanted to step away from an original Fender, it would certainly be something to look at, as well as all the Sirs and the amazing those sorts of guitars. A high-end G&L was definitely something that I'd also, if I wanted to go that way, I'd also be looking at that as well.
Yeah.
Because they do sound fantastic.
Interesting bit of sort of psychology, isn't it, or consumer behaviour, or however you want to term it. There's a lot of people out there who just don't want to play a Fender because it's a Fender and that's what everyone's got. And, that brand, not being part of that brand is very important to them. I'm the opposite of that. Fender and Gibson, for better or worse, we could put in a couple of other brands there, Gretsch, not get too forensic about it, but largely Fender and Gibson are rock and roll. They are rock and roll, and I can't get away from it. I don't want to get away from it. They do everything. They make every noise that I want an electric guitar to make, with one exception, which is Collings, and I'm somewhat addicted to Collings electric guitars as well.
Yep.
But traditionalist. Mark Lavinish, this is a good question, Mark. He says, please help me understand treble boosts versus regular boosts. I want a versatile treble boost for the front of my King of Tone and Kingsley pedals.
Great.
What works best, and can an EQ pedal substitute for this? You've got me addicted.
So an EQ pedal can definitely give you a treble sort of upper mid boost, definitely, and can work brilliantly. What a treble booster, if you think of a germanium transistor treble booster, it has that, there's a lot of crossover between a germanium treble booster and a germanium fuzz, whereas, really simple circuit, there's a lot of interplay between the volume controls and the transistor. It's a single transistor circuit as well.
Please focus. Doesn't want to focus, Dan. Doesn't want to focus.
Oh, that's weird.
That's really weird.
Come on. You can do it.
That's weird.
It's weird.
I don't want to focus.
So what I'm saying is a germanium treble booster gives you a bit of breakup and limiting in that circuit, and that can sound fantastic when it's being pushed into another drive pedal. However, if what you want is just a clean boost of those frequencies, then an EQ pedal can work. There you go. That's looking at you. There we go. Here she is. Yeah, so that is the Mini Beano Boost from Analog Man, and it's basically it's an NKT transistor, complete replica of the original Dallas Arbiter treble booster, and wonderful, yeah. But try them both. If you can get hold of an EQ pedal and try it in there, it may do everything that you want. Oh man, I love that thing. It's got an old OC44 Ballard transistor in it. Just wonderful.
What I like about both of these, the Analog Man one and this one, the Keeley Java Boost, is it's got a switchable bit which can control the EQ.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Sorry if you just said this. If you did, stop me.
No, I didn't.
The old Rangemaster was a bit. Going into the front of the KT be really nice, and going into something gainy like an amp, as long as it's overdriving, is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
But unless you're sort of committed to it, and like going into a clean sound, it can be utterly horrific.
Really harsh.
Because you're boosting all of these really harsh frequencies that sound great when they're overdriving, but sound pretty, well, don't sound great to me anyway, or him, when it's clean. But this allows you to put some lower mids and bass back in, so you can tune it.
Yeah.
Which the Beano Boost also does.
Yeah. It's a different capacitor value.
Yeah.
Just, a bit bigger capacitor letting more of the bottom end frequency through.
But is it fair to say, think of this more like a fuzz and an overdrive pedal than an EQ, which is just EQ? Because this has a real character.
Absolutely.
Sound to it.
Yeah. It's got more of the character of the fuzz, more of the... we're talking about today with the lower impedance on the input.
Yeah.
That's what those have got. So it's got more of that sort of fuzz character, like the cleanup on that.
Oh, wow, yeah. So it will react completely differently off the guitar.
Like really, really amazing.
So it's not just about EQ.
Not
it's about...
just about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you suggest Mark buys then? You're in the US, Mark.
First thing I would do is grab an EQ pedal. Yeah. And make sure that boosting the upper mids is a sound that you want. For me, Keeley, Analog Man. There's a bunch of really fantastic traditional style treble boosts. My favourite treble booster is it's called the Dirty Mac from a company in London, Pig Dog Pedals, and it's the only treble booster that I've ever heard that sounds great into a clean amp as well. It's got more of that fuzz character as you turn it up.
Yeah.
Oh, it's heavenly. From personal experience, Java Boost or Analog Man Mini Beano Booster, amazing.
Yeah, I would go Analog Man personally.
Right.
Yeah, and you're in the US, so you can order with ease from Mike. James Roy, happy Monday. I just got a Lucky Cat delay, JHS, second mention today. And it's new territory for me. I'm unfamiliar with digital delay versus my standby Ibanez AD9. What's your best advice on combining it in my mono rig? So you've got your very analog Ibanez AD9, and you've got the JHS Lucky Cat.
Mm-hmm. So I put the Lucky Cat at the end. Have the character, and a lot of the analog delays have a bit of grit in them, which sounds really lovely, and they sound really good for the shorter delays. What you can do is, if you have the analog delay doing its thing and getting all that lovely gritty character, if you put the Lucky Cat after that, then what it will do, it will take all that grit and all that loveliness and delay it really cleanly. Whereas if you put it the other way around and you take that the clean Lucky Cat delay and put that into the analog delay, then everything gets a bit warm. So for me, the best combination to get the most amount of sounds is having the analog delay first into a cleaner digital delay.
Yep.
And it's a spectacular sounding delay that.
It's got modulation as well.
Yeah.
Which is really nice.
Really cool.
Which your AD9 doesn't have.
No.
So you can play with the modulation, and that's really nice if you hit a chord and just let the chord sustain and you'll hear the modulation in and out. I think there's a switch on the side of it as well, isn't there?
There is. Well, there is on ours.
Yeah. So it has a digital mode. Did you just say this?
Mm-hmm.
You did?
Well, say it again.
No, if you already said it. Sorry, I was Googling it to just double check.
There's a bunch of different modes in it. I was just saying that it has the ability to do it to a cleaner delay.
Yes.
And there's more headroom in it. And so taking the analog delay and putting it into that, because I love stacking delays. It's an amazing thing, an amazing sound.
Yeah.
A shorter analog delay into a longer, cleaner delay
Yeah.
sounds glorious.
But if you find it is a bit too clean sounding, switch it to the tape mode and you might get on with it.
Yeah.
I use ours in the tape mode. Hello from Pike County, GA, Georgia. Thanks for all the great advice, says Bubba Teston.
You're
GA,
so welcome.
Georgia? I hope it is Georgia. Pike County.
Galveston.
That's not a state, is it?
It's a great song, though. Galveston, oh, Galveston.
That's the stuff you... for unsettled stomach?
Okay, that's
Gaviscon.
Gaviscon. Gaviscon.
I think he's come back.
Gaviscon.
Gav is gone. James Donahue, thanks for all the inspiration and motivating me to pick up the guitar again a year ago. Good, that's great to
That's
hear,
amazing.
James. He
Thank
says,
you,
Mick,
James.
why hasn't a custom shop Strat unseated blue for you? Is a really good question. I've played, as you probably know, so many Strats. I played them all. I played new ones, old ones, many custom shop ones, not least from my time on magazines, but also doing work for Andertons and stuff. Got to see a lot of Strats over the years. Been to lots of Fender custom shop events. You know, I've played a lot of custom shop Strats. Some of them I really love. Some of them I really, really don't love. And I feel that this particular selection of neck and body on blue, the thin skin finish, it basically is a custom shop Strat.
It is. Totally.
It's
as good as any custom shop Strat I've played.
It's definitely not as good as any custom shop Strat I've played, but it's as good as most custom shop Strats I've played. And that is probably just a bit of luck with the timber and just the way the thing hangs together as a guitar. This is going to sound really weird.
Is that Bert coming back up? No?
Given Dan and my collective love for boutique gear, expensive things, Fender Strat is a production electric guitar
Right.
made on a production line, and it does annoy me that to get the one I want is going to cost $5,500. I can see $7,000 in a Collings i30.
Right.
I can see it. I can see where every penny of that went.
Yep.
Custom shop Strat, I really struggle, if I'm honest,
To see where that money is.
in the same way.
That's interesting.
And there's a little militant in me there that doesn't want to spend it.
I hear ya.
However, I've played some Magic ones down the years,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. I guess it just hasn't the one that I've loved at that particular time has come along where I don't have the money or whatever. And I also got to the point, having borrowed the 61 for so long, I decided that it's really an old one that I want.
Yep.
Because the difference between blue and a nice custom shop is that, and the difference between nice custom shop and the old one is that. And so it's the old one that I would probably save my pennies for and get.
Sure.
But then that's not to say that, next week a nice something or other comes up and I play it and I go, wow, this is awesome.
Yep.
Here's some money I don't have. So it's entirely possible that it will go in any direction. But
Yeah.
that's why. Non-aligned videos. If you encounter a backline with a 50 watt Marshall Plexi, such as that one there,
Mm-hmm.
or a Marshall Bluesbreaker combo, which would you choose?
I've had some wonderful experiences with the Bluesbreaker combo.
Yeah, that's what I go for.
Yeah.
Depends what's on the pedal board. If I didn't have a pedal board, totally the Bluesbreaker.
And if I was doing a heavy rock gig, if it was like, if I was out there doing ADDC, then actually...
I'd still choose the Bluesbreaker.
Yeah, and actually, no, you know what? You're
Yeah.
right. If I was doing something that I needed the 4x12
Yeah.
in that, but man, Bluesbreaker's a killer combo.
Yeah, if it was just the amp Bluesbreaker, if I had a nice pedal board with a couple of really nice overdrives on it, I'd probably go with the 50 watt and the 412 because you can get it loud enough without it going into crunchy, heavy overdrive, which I find hard to deal with unless playing that kind of music, which I don't really do. But there is something about the 412 that that I love. But yeah, Blues Breaker.
Yep.
Nina Head DJ.
Hey, mate.
Dan, why never an Esquire?
I've never. The Esquires that I've played, I think, are amazing. But because I've had red, I've never needed extra rock from the bridge pickup. Yeah.
And in addition, have you ever tried the Duncan Custom Shop BG 1400? I'm a traditionalist, but I have one in an Esquire and it's amazing. Twang to PAF growl all in one pickup using your volume. I'm just trying to look it up, but it's a stack telly stack pickup.
Oh, okay. No, haven't tried it. The only stacked.
It is 29.2K.
Wow. What's the inductance? Does it say? Oh, I guess it wouldn't say. I don't know.
How many Henrys?
In the coil. Just wondering if they've got that in there as well.
Let's have a look. Spec. Come on, give me the spec. Give me the spec. Seymour Duncan Custom Shop. Nope. Just says 29.2K.
DC resistance. Okay. Interesting. Cool. Yeah. Awesome. We are going to do a show on this at some point. I'm assuming, that's going by the DC resistance, which isn't always a great thing to go by, but purely going by the DC resistance, it does seem like that is a really high output pickup, which is great. My struggle with high output pickups is with the rigs that I use, they tend to compress really early on. I get to the maximum dynamic range really quickly, which can be great, and it's certainly a lot of fun to play. What I've found with the vintage sort of lower wind things is more dynamics, and it forces me to be more sensitive to what I'm playing. Does that make sense? If I want to do, like, for example, if I want to play something fast, I've got to play it clean, otherwise it sounds awful. If I want to play something where I dig in, I've got to dig into a point where it doesn't overtake everything else. I've got to I've got to be able to control my right hand. And actually, it's been the best thing for my playing, understanding those lower output type sounds. The higher output stuff is just, it obviously is brilliant and can be so much fun to play. But for me personally, I'm trying to stick in that realm of, getting the most dynamics from here.
Yeah. I'm the same. TCB fan wants to know, during the TPS band gigging days, did you use wet dry rigs?
Absolutely.
100% yes.
And it sounded
mega.
Man.
Even if we do say so ourselves. And we will again.
Yes, we will.
When we get back on that horse.
Yep.
And Minivan Mega Fun 100. I don't even want to know. Minivan Mega Fun 100. He says, hi from Canada. What the heck is takes pedals well supposed to mean when describing an amp? You see this all the time.
Oh, right. So there are amplifiers that will impart their personality over everything that you do, and every overdrive will sound the same plugged into them. Whereas there are some amplifiers that have a level of clean headroom, but still character. It's not like plugging into a PA. They've still got a character about them, but there's a level of headroom that where you plug things into them and you can hear what the designer was going for, basically.
Yeah. That's what I always think. It's about headroom, really. A cleanish response from things like delays and reverbs and stuff.
Yeah.
Where they could sound great in the effects loop of a lower headroom amp, but a lot of low headroom amps don't seem to have effects loops.
Yeah, but then there are pedals that sound great with amplifiers that are limiting as well. It's
Yeah.
like talking about treble boosters and fuzzers before.
Yeah.
You know, stick those into a Fender Twin, see how you get on.
I don't know when we did it. We did a video recently where we used an amp that was absolutely smashing itself, and you put an overdrive pedal in the front and nothing really happens.
Yeah.
You can't really hear anything. Nothing really changes because all you're doing is pouring more water in the glass. Whereas with the headroom, you get the character of the overdrive pedal, and the tube screamer really does sound different from a clon, that does sound different from a blues breaker, etc. So that's probably what it means.
Yep.
But as always, there are no rules, and you may well prefer the sound of the amp that doesn't take pedals very well.
Indeed.
So, yeah. Eduardo Pinto.
Hello, Eduardo Pinto.
He says, just a token of my appreciation to Dan's life-saving suggestion of using a fuzz on a remote-controlled loop before the switcher. It worked great.
Brilliant. That's
Excellent.
great, mate. So glad. So glad.
Yep.
Well done.
Woolly Fox, I wanted to say thank you for inspiring me to learn guitar in my late 20s. I now own 4 guitars, with my newest addition being a Gibson CS336 in ebony.
Oh, wow.
The best guitar I own. Have a drink on me. Nice.
Thank you. Well done, mate. That's
Nice.
great. Very good.
Gary Varner.
Gary Vavana.
Gary Varner. Gary, you've chatted, but there's no question, so hopefully we haven't missed something. It may come through. G Barge, hello G.
G'day,
He says,
mate.
greetings, fearless leaders.
Don't know about fearless or leaders for that matter.
On my command, unleash fuzz. I've just returned from officiating my first wedding in San Antonio,
Oh, wow.
and I thought you'd have been amused. The reception band was fantastic. To all in San Antonio, Matt Schofield plays this Saturday at Sam's.
Oh, wow.
Nice, San Antonio.
Get down there, check him out. He's amazing.
Yeah, nice. And congrats on officiating at your first wedding.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
How lovely.
Remember that? Do you remember that great day, Dan?
I do. I got married in Miami.
Did you?
Yep. And the lady who married us was the lady who married J-Lo for the first time.
Nice.
Yeah. It was really good.
Yeah,
We were
yeah.
at in Key West, down there somewhere.
That's very cool.
It was just wonderful. Then did our honeymoon going around America.
How lovely.
It was great.
I got
Good.
married in Gloucestershire and went to Tuscany.
Well,
Taught
that's lovely.
Taught myself about Sangiovese, which I didn't really know anything about. A grape.
Oh, okay.
And I still didn't, but I did get drunk a lot.
Nice. I hear you.
Elena Stacey. Hello, Elena. I want to learn more about fuzz circuits. It seems like the bias adjusts the resistance between the power and the transistor. Why does this make it splatty? Yes, Dan will explain this.
Well,
The bias controls.
So it acts then like a gate. So the voltage that's coming out from the guitar, the AC voltage, as you reduce the bias, it makes it harder for that to go through to a point where it sounds it's pushing and then going through that gate, and you get that splatty sound. As you bias it to a point where it's nice and open, then everything will go through and it sounds smoother. There is so much information about fuzz face circuits. Go and read The Technology of the Fuzz Face by R.G. Keane. Everything that you'll ever want to know about fuzz is in that document. I am desperate to contact Mr. Keane and do an interview him, because I think he inspired so many builders to get going. Yes, R.G. Keane, The Technology of the Fuzz Face, and it's all in there.
There you go. There you go. John Heath, episode idea, 2 Rock versus Matchless with boards to make them sound the same with different guitars but the same cab. Also, please have a strap-on for professional consistency.
Okay.
That is quite interesting. So what you're saying is get 2 vastly different amps and try and make them sound the same using pedals.
Okay. It's a really tough thing to do, but could be fun. Because Could be fun to point out why it's really hard to do.
That's probably why it's most interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Nice suggestion, John. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Thank
well
you for your
done.
generosity. Connor Larkin. No question, just grateful for the knowledge and experience you guys bring. I've learned so much about pedals, tone, amps and life in general. All the best.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you.
Thanks, Connor.
Thank you. So welcome.
It is slightly scary that you learn anything about life from me and Dan, but hey, we'll take it. Don't listen to us. Adrian Jordan. Evening, D&M. I'm tuned in building the Lego Fender Stratocaster. Have a beer on me.
Oh, nice.
Nice. How cool. How cool. Somebody I know, via somebody I know, did the Lego Star Wars deal.
Seriously?
Can you imagine?
Did they get a kickback?
The number? Oh, God, yeah.
So that was the last thing they did?
Can you imagine the number?
Wow.
I mean, clearly it wasn't one person, but a team of people. Can you imagine the size of that deal?
My goodness.
LC Vol 73. No, Corin Jack. Hello, Corin. I have a heavy, custom-made telly with maple neck and high output single coils. My issue is the tone is lacking in any brightness. Would changing the pickups help, or do I need to find a different telly?
Oh, so interesting.
Oh, so after the thing we filmed today, it is so interesting.
Yep. If you've got high output pickups, if the output impedance is quite high, then there's a good chance that it's struggling to drive the capacitance in your cable. If it's ceramic magnets and the inductance from the coil is low, then it should be plenty bright enough. I don't think so. A lot of people say, change the pots, go to a higher value pot, and it can help. In my experience, if you've got a dark sounding guitar, changing pots, I don't know if it's worth a go. Jury's out for me. Maybe. Is it worth it? It's if you can swap out a pickup easily, it's worth trying a lower output pickup with lower output impedance. So one of the things about these guitars that have got really massive output, if they've got because of the amount of windings in the coil, it takes to get a higher output. There's more windings. It's going to give you more inductance. The more inductance acts as a filter, right? As the frequencies go up, you get more resistance in those frequencies, so it acts as a top-end filter. So it can be challenging to get top end out of those things, whereas the lower wind pickups, even though they're not as powerful, less inductance, a less output impedance, easier to drive the cable from the guitar. It might be that you need to sit down with some really low capacitance short cables and plug that in, and you might go, there it is.
Yeah, that's a really
It's all a balancing act.
Good place to start. If you can bear it, get a patch cable or something very short and just plug straight into your amp and see what difference that is compared to going through the rest of your guff. It's a tough one. Everything on that guitar is going to contribute to the sound, what the saddles are made of, what the bridge is made of,
Yep.
how the strings are anchored, what the nut's made of. Try a buffer.
Yeah.
Try a buffer.
Try
which
short cable into a buffer.
could be, is basically what Dan was just saying about all that stuff about pickups. A buffer will solve all of that, or a good deal of that issue. Over your cable runs.
Yeah, if the issue is the cable run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, tough one. Without playing it, very hard to say.
Yeah. Good luck, though. Good luck.
We wish you
There's a
luck.
show coming in a couple of weeks that might be interesting to you.
And LC Vol 73, a super chat from you, but no questions. So I'll just see if BV is trying to contact me to let me know, and he isn't. So we think there might not be. Patinator 37. When my two overdrives are active, and I engage my belly book deluxe, there is a significant signal loss, which is quieter and muffled. Any ideas? Greetings from Nuremberg in Germany.
Greetings. So,
Number one, what is it always, Dan?
a cable.
It's always a cable.
Yeah.
So if you haven't done the most obvious thing possible, check your cables, because it sounds like you might have an earth problem on that last cable.
Yeah. The other thing to check is if you're running your...
Actually, no, because that wouldn't make any difference. It would be
shouldn't
bad
be.
with it on or off.
But
yeah.
so what might be happening is if you've got an overdrive pedal, like your first overdrive pedal, so saying doing a big sounding overdrive, and then you've got a boost after that, and it's really, really loud, and then you turn on the delay, it might be that the level is too high for the delay and it's clipping.
Yeah.
Try bringing the overdrive levels back a bit and to a point where it doesn't clip, and then turn up the amp so that you still get a boost, but you're not driving so hard into the front of the pedal. Give that a go.
Turn the delay effect level down to 0 as well, just so that you're not being swayed by the sound of the delay. So take the delay sound out of the equation by turning the pedal on and the delay down to 0, and then you'll get the effect of what the sound of the pedal. Because normally, normally what people say is, I've got my 2 overdrives on and I switch my Belly Book Deluxe on and it gets really bright and horrible, and that's because of the buffer if you've got it in non-true bypass mode. So that doesn't sound quite right. Check all your cables.
Indeed.
And do what he said and then do what I said.
Yep.
Good luck. Speedy Sphincter says, what's the best way to find a drummer? My band's producer said he would drum for us, but he just got a promotion in his job and asked if we could try somebody else.
Man, I tell you what, if you find a drummer and they're good and you get on with them, man alive, they are gold dust, and you cherish and you look after that person.
Dougie, we love you.
We love Dougie. He is the best, and he sings like an angel. Man, really good drummers who are great people.
Any musician.
But the thing with drummers is...
Guitar players are ten a penny, but good drummers are rarer beasts, aren't they?
Exactly. There's just not that many of them around, because there's, they've got to carry a lot of gear and stuff.
And they're always busy.
Always busy. Good drummers are always busy. How to find a good drummer? Go to jam nights. Go and
see the best bands.
Yeah, absolutely, and go and see the support bands, and just go and see more live bands, and go and meet more musicians, and let more musicians know that you're looking for a drummer. Get the network going.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Networking.
Yep.
And if you have any advances on that, please let me know. David Burke. Hi, David, and thank you for your generosity. He says, howdy, gents. Haven't sent love in a while. Plus, someone asked me how many guitars I have yesterday, and I couldn't remember. I realised if I keep my cash, I'll only buy more guitars. So have some pizza, beer, and me. Oh, man.
Thank you, mate.
That's super kind of you, David.
Nice to hear from you as well, mate.
Thank you.
Hope you're great.
You. Where does Dan get his hats, says David Walls.
Where do I get my hats, Mick?
Trendhim.com.
Trendhim.com. I've had a few people ask this week.
Yeah, we found an online place, or you found an online place.
I think you found it.
Did I?
Yeah.
We bought them. Nice hats.
They're wonderful.
Not the cheapest hats in the world.
They're not cheap.
And pretty bad delivery and very substandard packaging. But apart from that, a nice
Apart
hat.
from that, how did you enjoy the play, Mrs. Lincoln?
Jacob Bartelt. Hello, Jacob.
Hey, Jacob.
Nice to hear from you. He says, hi, guys, no question. It's shocking, I know. I just wanted to say thanks because my wife bought me the Reverb tank shirt for my birthday yesterday.
Ah, legend.
And I love it. Well, nice one.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Mrs. Bartelt. And thanks, Jacob, for being here. We love it. Jim Leininger says, Says me, if creativity is aided by limitations, maybe we should be happy with one simple rig. Says the mob, but what if you're in a cover band?
Yeah. Doesn't mean you can't do your own thing in a cover band.
Or indeed play with a very limited setup.
Yep. Go and have a listen to Devo's version of Satisfaction.
Well, the thing is, unless you're in one of those cover bands that use loads of playback and you've got, there are cover bands and there are cover bands, right?
Indeed.
So, like, more at the tribute end where all the sounds have got to be absolutely right and there is significant playback and all the backing vocals are correct and the production is right and the EQ's right and all of that. That's a different thing than, what most of us would think of as a bar band or a club band, where you just go out and you play a song. Your human brain is pretty good at filling in the details.
Totally.
So as long as you get the general gain level and if there's a key effect, like, if you're playing the edge, you really do need a delay, I would say.
Yeah. Really hard to do it without.
Yeah, it just doesn't work without.
No.
I bet there are people down the ages who've learnt to play all the bits. What you'd have to do is have like a special plectrum that was a dotted eighth behind the main plectrum. Anyway, somebody invent that, please. I'm with you. I mean, having been caught up in complication for far too long now, there's something about just a simple rig and actually committing to playing the notes that will get you much further than worrying about whether your phaser sound is absolutely spot on or not. And I've personally always been of that school. If you play the right notes and you play them with conviction, in fact, even if you don't play the right notes, but you play it with conviction and the singer is half decent, the audience is going to enjoy it.
I went and saw Mick do a Hendrix night. No, it was a Cream thing. And you sounded absolutely mega and nailing all those Cream tones. And what amp did you use?
My 2-Rock.
Your 2-Rock. Because you were connected with the sound. And everyone out front was just going, oh!
They weren't doing that.
They were. It was awesome. I've recorded a bit of that, actually. I filmed a bit. And, sonically, it was just gorgeous. Now, because you inhabit that sound, right? But if it had been a Marshall sound that was really alien to you...
I wouldn't have played it.
No, totally.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Totally.
But there's a lot in that. I think,
there really is.
Why do we play the guitar? Because we love it. And if you do get bound up, and we all go through periods of this where the sort of detail takes you over, that's the point to just stop for a second and go, okay, this is all good, but I just need to enjoy playing.
Yep.
And bring it back to that for a minute. So I think there's truth. Somewhere between your two statements, Jim. And thanks for making us think about it.
Very good.
Music Therapy Laz says, Legends,
hey,
what's
bud.
up? I'm just back from an epic road trip with the wife's Peruvian relatives around SoCal and Southwest US, Grand Canyon, Vegas, etc.
Oh, man.
Do it.
How lovely.
What a lovely thing to do. How cool. Well, we hope you had a great trip. Benjamin Loy says, hi from the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. Imagine being from the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. Where are you from?
I'm from the Smoky Mountains in Brisbane.
In Tennessee. Where are you from? I don't know, Macclesfield. Nothing wrong with Macclesfield. But there is something very romantic about the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee, isn't there?
Definitely.
There is some here anyway. He says, I'm a bassist. I've gone all tube because of the show. I'm wanting a stereo rig, a guitar amp as a second. Victory amps good, or high-watt JCM 800s cleans and hair, or find a second Mesa rig to go with. So Benjamin is a bass player. He wants a stereo rig and use a guitar amp as his second rig. What should he get?
Okay, if you can, what was the amps that Chris Squire played in Yes? They were Marshalls, big Marshall stacks with his Rickenbacker. 100-watt plexis, I'm assuming.
Yeah, but remember they made versions of those, the super bass, for example.
Yeah. Because I think they sound magnificent. Like,
Yeah.
you can think back in those days we saw the bass player and the guitar player had the same amplifiers. And it was plugged into a guitar amplifier. It's just an amplifier. It's going to amplify stuff. And, guitar amps can sound fantastic as bass amps. If you're doing a stereo thing, it can work really well to have a different voiced amplifier. Marshall Super Bass, epic. I mean, high watt, epic. Can't really go wrong.
I'm just seeing what the bass Prodigy is. That's what you've got.
I wouldn't go with anything that's got too much bottom end.
Yeah.
Or too much gain either in the front end. I'd still go with something that's open, like a non-master volume Marshall. If you can find an old JMP.
That looks really cool, that Mesa. Look at that, 4 KT88s.
Oh, wow.
That's really groovy.
If you can find an old JMP, 100 watt or even the 50 watts, I think they were the last of the non-master volumes that Marshall did. Absolutely epic amplifiers. But something like that, something with a bit of character.
Yeah, all your suggestions. Victory, yeah, great. You'd probably get some of that happening at a lower volume than an old school Marshall stack, certainly than the JCM 800, which is going to be like...
Yeah, the JCM 800 is probably a bit gainy, I would say.
Yeah.
It's still really cool.
Yeah, it just depends what you want.
Yeah.
I guess you have to try some stuff.
Yep.
What about a Fender Bassman? It says it on the tin there.
It does. Get your hands dirty, no way, but that sounds like fun.
Andy Kay says, autumnal greetings from the home of Billy Gibbons in Newcastle. There is context to that statement. We know he comes from Texas, but he was born in... no, anyway, doesn't matter. The change in seasons must be responsible for the TPS merch being covered up. Yes, Dan and our boiler is broken here at TPS Towers because boilers only break in the winter when you use them.
Yep.
So we are without heating or hot water.
I have my very dear plumber, Terry, at my house at the moment fixing my boiler.
Fixing your boiler, yeah.
So thank you, Terry. Legend.
No question today. Just a small contribution to the beer fund. Thank you, Andy.
Oh,
That's
thank
very
you, mate.
kind of you.
Thank you.
Timothy E. Oh yeah, this came up in the comments actually a couple of times. He says, the Friday show about the Hot Rod Deluxe makes me wonder about using the same cab for these amps to demonstrate the amp differences more than the amp and speaker differences. Yes, in the context of a sort of experiment, if you like, that would make sense. However, the vast majority of people's experience of those amps is in their standard form, i.e. in the box that it comes in with the speaker that it comes with.
Yep. Because
that's how you buy them and that's how they get used.
And that's how they were designed.
Yeah.
The speaker is a massive part of the design of the amplifier. They when they're designing an amplifier, they will design a speaker as part of that, the collaboration. It's a really important part of how the amp sounds. But absolutely, one of the great things about owning heads and cabs is mix and match.
Yeah.
One of my favourite cabs is the old Hewson Kettner 2x12.
It's a great sounding 212.
Magic.
Just really works, yeah. But yes, certainly, grounds of comparison, as a sort of academic question about what is really making the difference here, then of course the cabinet is a colossal contributor. And anyone who's bought a really nice amp head and a really crappy, cheapest cab they can afford is learning that the hard way.
Yeah.
And then when you hear the cab that it was actually designed with, it's like, oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah. Yep, totally.
Unless you get really lucky, which is also possible. David Rustad, he says, come on though, it was the colour of the Tone King, wasn't it? I get it, guys. Really love the show. Felt very old school TPS.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, we have, seeing as we're among friends, we have struggled a bit in recent months, just wondering what it is that people want, because as you well know, given that you are the people that join us most frequently,
and we're so grateful,
and we are, yeah, and we get a lot of love from our TPS community, and but sometimes your eyes wander. And we do get a bit of a kick in the comments section about other things that people want. And we don't want people to be unhappy. We want to provide a wide variety of content that people really enjoy. And I swear to you, it's not about chasing numbers. We've never been interested in that. And we don't, we're too old, too ugly, and we don't talk about interesting enough stuff to be a massive YouTube channel. So we're very happy in our little niche, and that's why we started to do it. But you do go, well, actually, maybe if we did do a few shorter videos and all that, people would enjoy it more. But then, having tried it, and we won't, we'll try it again, but we're like, meh, you're right. Old school TPS is how it works.
Yeah.
We shove some stuff on the board, we try and ask a relevant question, and we see where it goes.
Yeah.
Don't be too prescriptive about it.
Yeah, totally. We don't want to stop trying stuff as well, because it's fun. And as much as anything, we like to challenge ourselves and, do new things. We don't want to get complacent with any of that stuff as well. It's nice to think that we could bring a few more people into the fold. I know a lot of people see the long videos and go, there's just no way. And so we don't want to ostracize anyone like that. But at the same time, we've just got to do what we do.
Yeah.
Well,
otherwise it's phony, isn't it?
Exactly. And we tried making... I remember when we first were conscious about, oh man, these videos are getting longer. We thought we tried making them shorter. They just ended up getting longer and longer. Yeah. Because it's like, well, this is the questions that come up while we're doing this. And we have to, we've got to answer those. We've got to at least explore those. And that's what we do.
Yeah, and sometimes if we rattle through it, people are like, God, don't rush.
Yeah.
But then you get that guy from wherever he's from who's like, Jesus, you guys need to make shorter videos. I don't have time in my life for this. And we're like, well, that's your problem.
And we get some people who are really quite angry. It's like, oh my God, you think I've got time to watch this? It's like, sorry?
Yeah, sorry. Just don't hurt anybody. Rolf Martin Hayderson. David, thank you. Thank you for the kind words, as always. Rolf Martin Hayderson from Norway says, would you care to comment on modern pedal brands using old school names like MXR, Univibe, Echoplex, First Face or Crybaby? Right, all of those are owned by Dunlop.
Yeah, right.
So they are at liberty to use them at will. They own all of those trademarks, I believe. So in that case, if the trademark owner is using the trademark, totally fine. Obviously, it gets more difficult if a non-trademark owner is using those trademarks that's owned by somebody else, and then that's an intellectual property discussion, which people seem to mix up a legal argument with a moral one. Should and shouldn't doesn't matter. Should and shouldn't doesn't matter. It's just what the law says. Yeah,
it's like if you're looking for a wah pedal, what's the first thing you're going to type into Google?
Wah wah.
Second thing you type in?
Crybaby.
Crybaby.
Yeah.
Right. And Dunlop have paid a pretty penny to say, okay, well, this is our brand now, and that's fine. That's part of the whole business thing. Awesome. And I think, like having people like George Trips there, super respectful of all that stuff. It's cool. They're a business, and they're part of that plan is to make that stuff work. Amazing. Who owns Laney now?
Laney owns Laney.
Laney, okay. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Right, awesome.
Lyndon Laney. I don't know if he's the sole owner.
Right. But that's cool. I love that lineage.
I think his son James works there.
Right.
I think.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, cool. That's it. For the super chats, lots and lots of people. Mark Taylor, non-aligned videos. K Cole 4001. I like your bass. I like your bass. Scott Acam, David Burns. I'm tense and nervous and I can't relax. All chiming in saying very kind, being very kind about TPS, and you like what we do. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it.
We like what we do as well.
Yeah, we do.
You know?
We feel honoured and so grateful that you guys and girls hang out with us. It's because it's been so long since we've done anything with any of you, and it's been us in this little room talking to a camera. I think one of the reasons we love our VCQ so much is because we get to hang out with you and interact. But can't wait till we go out and do some gigs again. And we've got the Experience Days coming up.
Yeah, we've got one booked in October, one November. They both sold out, so we'll see how they go,
Yep.
and we'll learn from those.
Yep.
And
that'll be fun.
Book some more for next year.
Yep.
Yeah.
And hopefully, we love the idea of, a few years ago we went to America and did a live thing at Rift City.
Yeah.
And that was just so much fun. So hopefully we're going to start get some more of that stuff going. But we really appreciate all of you, and thank you so much for hanging out with us. It's really wonderful.
It's a big deal. I want more people to hear this amplifier.
Yeah.
We hammered it today. It sounded so good. I normally have it on 50 watts in here because it's bonkers in 100. But
we went bonkers today.
There's something about the 100 watt mode that just lets that output transformer go, hello.
That's so good.
And the mics are like, yeah. Right. Food time, isn't it, Dan?
Food time, home time. I've got to...
Sleep time.
Yeah. Awesome.
Been a full-on day today.
It's been a great day today. So much fun.
Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks so much, everyone.
This Friday is a video about the Nobles ODR1.
Yeah. Really, really interesting.
Neither of us have ever owned one.
No.
Have played them but never owned one. So we play it alongside a Blues Driver and a Tube Screamer and do some other things.
Fascinating.
It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, brilliant. Have a fantastic week, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We'll see you on Friday, then see you next week. Bye.
Play us out, Dan.